Who remembers the days when surplus stores were being stocked with cheap SKS rifles and even cheaper Mosins? Remember when no one cared a whole lot about surplus stuff? The ammo and the guns were super cheap, and it was a buyer's market. Does a surplus guns market still exist in 2023? The good news is that the cheap surplus market still exists. Admittedly, the day of the super cheap 7.62 by 25 and 9mm Makarov is gone. These days, most surplus guns have some high ammo costs, but there are plenty of cheap guns on the market. I've done a deep dive and found several rifles and handguns on the surplus market that cost less than $500. The following guns are available for $500 or less. Although, keep in mind this surplus market is volatile, and things can change quickly, so the prices might be around $500 or so. Chinese Type 53 rifles. Speaking of Mosin Nagants, the Chinese T-53 does provide an affordable option in the Mosin Nagant family. The T-53 rifles are seemingly the only Mosin Nagants going for less than $500 on the surplus market these days. China likes to copy Soviet-era rifles, and the Type 53 was their take on the Mosin M44 carbine. While some may decry that the Type 53 is of lesser quality than the M44, they are wrong. These are well-made rifles. They just weren't well stored. They feature folding spike bayonets, shoot the 7.62 by 54R rounds, and provide that ugly Mosin design at an affordable price point. Condition varies wildly, and so does the price. Check the bore for pitting and rust, but other than that, you can likely get a T-53 in shooter's grade for a couple of $100 depending on where you shop. Turkish M38 Mausers. Turkish Mauser still presents the famed Mauser action in an affordable platform. These stout, bolt-action battle rifles served around the world, and the Ottoman Empire certainly loved them. The M38 Mausers fire the 8mm Mauser most commonly. It's a heavy hitter that packs a punch and is a ton of fun to shoot. Prices vary, but they seem to remain well under $500 for most dealers, and should at least come with the bayonet. Prepare thy shoulders for the thump of the 8mm Mauser round. It's a heavy hitter that doesn't hold back. Carcano M91 Calvary. The M91 Calvary carbine descends from the gun famed for killing Kennedy, and it has long been a cheap option for surplus rifles. Hell, even Oswald's was cheap at the time. They've remained cheap. These Italian bolt-action rifles aren't the best rifles. However, they are robust and reliable enough. These shorty carbines are ugly, but come equipped with bayonets. They feed from en bloc clips and shoot the famed 6.5 Italian round. It's expensive ammo, but can be a fairly cheap rifle on the surplus market. They are essentially the Mosin Nagant of this generation, at least at this price point. Swiss K31. I recently included the Swiss K31 on my list of guns you should buy with your tax refund, and for good reason. The rifle features a very unique straight pull action, a rarity among bolt-action service rifles. The K31s are chambered in the potent and affordable 7.5 Swiss cartridge, which is similar in performance to 30-06. Swiss surplus rifles are almost always in excellent condition, which can't be said of every Mosin pulled out of a musty crate. As with almost every other Milsurp gun on the market, K31s have steadily increased in price over the years as supplies dry up. There's a large batch available right now, with prices ranging from $300 to $330. SKS Rifles. Yep, the humble SKS has exploded recently. Holy crap, I never thought people would ask over $1,000 for an SKS, but here we are. Yet, there are still good deals to be had on these semi-auto 7.62 by 39mm rifles. You can find SKS rifles in rougher conditions that aren't exactly parts matching for less than $500. While they aren't exquisite, they are functional shooters. I love shooting an SKS, and I'm sad I wasn't around to buy them by the crate. Lee Enfield No. 4. The Lee Enfield No. 4 rifles aren't nearly as fine-looking or as classic as the SMLE Mk3. Still, they are dependable, reliable rifles. They just tended to be simpler and easier to produce, and that was pretty important with the upcoming Second World War. These are quite accurate, though, and tend to be reliable shooters. Don't expect matching numbers on the surplus market for under $500, but you can have a competent rifle. The Lee Enfield action won't leave you disappointed. Polish Radom P64. Russian and even Bulgarian Makarov pistols have climbed in price significantly. However, the humble Polish Radom P64 can be an applicable stand-in. The P64 isn't a one-for-one Makarov, but is fairly similar to the Makarov. Both use the 9mm Makarov caliber. Both use a straight blowback design with a DASA trigger, and, obviously, both are semi-auto pistols. The P64 is a little smaller than the Makarov and holds only 6 rounds. Like most European pistols, you can expect a terrible trigger, but an ultra-reliable design. The P64 can be found for under $300, making it a great solid first surplus pistol. Although the ammo is expensive. CZ52. Produced in Czechoslovakia in the 1950s for their forces, the CZ52 fires the extremely potent 7.62 by 25mm Tokarev round. The CZ52 was replaced by the CZ82 in the 1980s. As a result of this, thousands of surplus CZ52 handguns eventually flooded the American market. At one point, they were so common that you could purchase a CZ52 pistol in pretty good condition, 2 magazines, and a military-issue holster for less than $100. Among other countries, the Soviet, Chinese, Czech, and Yugoslavian military and/or police forces used firearms chambered in 7.62 by 25mm. So military surplus ammunition is also relatively common and inexpensive as well. Prices have gone up since then, but they're still a pretty good buy for a shooter on a budget. The big downside to the CZ52 is that it is a difficult gun to shoot accurately. By my account, it has a terrible trigger, poor sights, a sharp recoil, and a fierce muzzle blast. However, it's still a unique and fun gun to shoot, especially considering it's one of the least expensive military surplus guns available these days. The real key to buying affordable surplus guns is being willing to shop. Lots of the recent spate of high prices might seem typical, but if you shop auction websites and keep your eyes open at gun shows, you can get into the game quite cheaply. I'm only a man with a tight budget and a love for surplus goodies. However, I want to turn it over to the audience. What are your tips for getting into the surplus guns market?